Today is November 18th of 2022, which makes today a very special day because exactly 10 years ago on November 18th of 2012, this big hunky chunky bad boy, the Nintendo Wii U, officially launched in North America. That's right, I'm sure we all remember the Nintendo Wii U. It is, in my opinion, Nintendo's most underrated and underappreciated console of all time. I have very special memories of when this console launched, my time playing it, and I also very much associate it to this YouTube channel because I began this YouTube channel in October of 2013, almost 1 year after the Wii U had launched, only a few weeks before the PlayStation 4 and the Xbox One launched. And that time, when I first started talking to a microphone and to you guys on YouTube about video games and Nintendo and all the goings-on in the industry, I was so in love with the Wii U. I was enjoying everything the Gamepad was offering, and I really liked talking about and covering Nintendo and news around the Wii U. Yes, I covered Sony and Microsoft as well, but obviously I really kind of found my niche as somebody who just loves Nintendo and loves talking about and covering Nintendo, as they are my favorite company. Even though I love and enjoy and own and play on all of the different platforms, I've always been a Nintendo guy, man. Ever since the 80s when I grew up with the NES, it's always been my favorite company. And the Wii U is just a weird piece of Nintendo's history where it didn't sell well, it was not a critical or commercial success, but god damn it, I just freaking love it. So obviously with today being the 10-year anniversary of the launch of the Wii U, again in North America, November 18th, 2012, I obviously wanted to spend some time in today's video talking about the console and its reception, the things it did well, some of the reasons why maybe it didn't do so well, and just a lot of the console's legacy. Again, because as I just spent a couple of minutes explaining to you guys, I am a huge fan of that. For those of us who remember, the Nintendo Wii U was revealed during Nintendo's E3 press conference on June 7th, 2011. We were hearing rumors about Nintendo's Project Cafe, which was their code name for their upcoming console. The Nintendo Wii had been owning the industry for many years at that time, but obviously things had slowed down significantly. People were way more focused on the HD graphics and power of the 360 and the PlayStation 3 at the time. We had been talking about a Wii HD console or something more powerful from Nintendo needed to exist. The Project Cafe concept got introduced by Nintendo, and we knew going into that E3 that we were supposed to see what their next console was going to be, and that did happen, but the reveal was very, very strange. It's very famous for being a little bit confusing in its messaging because Reggie and Nintendo on stage, one of the last times they ever appeared on stage in physical form for an E3, they really focused on showing us the controller, and as silly as that may seem now in hindsight over 10 years later, I am telling you guys, as somebody who was 31 years old myself at that time, I was a capable adult of processing gaming information, even I was a little confused. I remembered watching that thinking, okay, I think this is a new video game console, but it also just, based on the name Wii U and the fact that they just showed a controller and they featured a ton of Mii characters running around, it kind of also felt like maybe a peripheral for the Nintendo Wii, which the Wii was rife with peripherals. People had living rooms filled over with weird, awkward plastic things like guns and launch pads and jumping boards and all sorts of goofy things that were meant to enhance your Wii Remote experience for the Wii, and this kind of seemed like a more advanced version of that, something for the Wii. But later Nintendo clarified because a lot of people were confused. Not just me, not just you, a lot of people, even the gaming press was a little confused. Nintendo clarified that it is a new console, it's their next generation, it's going to feature HD graphics, it revolves around the Gamepad touchscreen controller, and they wanted to focus on the controller, and they made a conscious effort not to show the actual physical console itself in the reveal trailer. And way, way later, Nintendo confirmed that they felt that was a mistake, but it explains why we didn't see the console in the initial reveal. Now, by the time the console released over a year later, again on November 18th of 2012, Nintendo had spent a good amount of time trying to clarify their message. They actually started getting a lot of photos and videos of the actual physical console out itself so that people could see, hey, this thing is actually, it's a video game machine. It's not just a controller, it's not just a a touchpad device that you attach to your Wii. It's its own thing. And they were announcing all sorts of partnerships like with EA and Activision. They spent time showcasing and demoing Call of Duty running in HD on the Wii U. They showed that the Gamepad was going to bring all these cool enhancements. Of course, we all know very famously the Legend of Zelda tech demo that they showed off with that initial reveal in 2011, which was so exciting, and I still to this day wish that we got a Zelda that looked exactly like that game. And maybe one day we get it, maybe we don't, but it was very, very cool at that time. And so, over a year later, again, the console finally launched, and, I think the first couple of weeks or months felt pretty exciting and strong, but obviously soon after we learned that the Wii U was going to have some struggles ahead, which makes me very sad, and eventually is one of the things that did, again, make me want to start my own YouTube channel to talk about gaming and very much the Wii U and Nintendo because I love them so much. Now, if you'll bear with me for a couple of minutes, I want to tell a story about the launch of the Wii U. And this is a story years and years and years ago I told. Maybe it was like a Q&A video. I don't know. This is definitely before the Nintendo Switch even came out. We might not have even known what the Switch was. But I want to tell you a quick aside about my kind of story with the launch of the Wii U, because this experience is indelibly burned into my brain and my entire being as tied to the release of the Nintendo Wii U. And it's a freaky story. So my story is, I had set up with my job, I had scheduled a week of PTO, of time off, for the launch of the Wii U because I was like so excited. This is going to be great. I was a single guy living alone, renting a really big house, that I was in the middle of living in for a couple of years at the time. And so I was like, I'm going to take a week off just because I want to play this brand new video game console. This sweet ass touchscreen's coming out. I can't freaking wait for new Nintendo stuff. I was picking up Zombie U and I was picking up Call of Duty Black Ops 2 as my initial launch day games. I was super excited. And so my last day of work was the day before the console launched on November 18th. So my last day of work was November 17th, right, of 2012. And I remember that day of work because I was excited all day because I was like, tomorrow is a new Nintendo console and a week vacation, and I'm going to be a dorky vegetable nerd for like 7 days, and it's going to be great. But about halfway through that day, I went from completely normal, fine, and healthy to suddenly in one hot second, something washed over me, and I got so unfathomably sick. I mean, I can't describe with my words, you guys, what happened to me, but I literally went from 1 second I was good, the next second I wanted to die. I literally felt it wash over my whole body. I was extremely nauseous, I was extremely dizzy, I was sweaty, I felt like my vision was kind of blurred. I was just like, oh my God, like something was very, very wrong. I mean, seriously wrong. In fact, I probably should have gone to the hospital, but I was a single idiot living alone. I didn't think or care about that stuff, so I never did. Thank God I survived. But I got really sick. And so I went to my boss, into his office, and I was like, hey man, I am so sick. I can't be here for another minute. I'm going to start throwing up all over the place. Something's wrong. I got to go. And he was a cool guy, but he kind of looked at me sideways like, you sure you're not trying to just get out early because you want to go do your vacation video game thing, He was a cool dude, so he was kind of giving me shit about it. But I was like, honestly, man, no, I am so sick, I've got to go. And so he basically said, that's fine, just go ahead and get out of here. And I'll never forget my drive. This is when I lived in Denver. I worked up in the Rockies. I lived down in the foothills, so I had about a 20 or 30-minute drive from the mountains down to my house. And on that drive home, I had to stop. I don't remember if I stopped more than once. I know I stopped at least once. And I almost threw up. I never actually did throw up that I remember, but I had to stop and I had to get air and get outside of I was driving a Ford Explorer at the time, and it just was so bad. It was still daylight at the time that I was driving home. And every mile I drove home, I thought I was just going to pass out and die and drive off a cliff or something. It was so bad. I made it home that night, and again, I was going to wake up first thing in the morning and go to my GameStop and get in line and picked up my reserved copy of my Wii U, my reserved Wii U in the games that I already had paid for. And that night was basically hell on earth for me. It was almost as if I had to spend that entire nighttime from 6 at night to basically 9 in the morning, whatever it was, when I woke up to go get in line at GameStop. And it was like my whole body got transported into another dimension. I was rolling around in my living room. I did start throwing up like crazy. To the point where I ended up dry heaving throughout most of the night, because after like the second time I threw up, my body was emptied of everything, but I kept trying to throw up. This is kind of gross, so forgive me, you guys. But the whole point is, it's a very long story, so forgive me. The point is, I really feel like I was supposed to die that night. I really do. I was so unbelievably sick, and it lasted all night. I didn't get a wink of sleep. And I kept thinking, there's no way I'm going to wake up tomorrow and go buy myself a video game console. I'm going to have to wait a couple days. But that's not what happened. Even though I was on my deathbed, I was like, must buy Wii U. And so, whatever, 9 or 10 in the morning to go get in line, I went and like a dead person crawled into the mall, sat in front of GameStop and waited for them to open. And I got my Wii U and I went home and I enjoyed it throughout the entire week. And I would say I was only kind of sick for probably another day. I remembered getting better pretty soon after that, but boy, that near-death experience and that random 48-hour sickness from hell that I had, I will always tie that to the release of the Wii U. And so with that fun, weird, kind of gross story behind us, we can move on to talking more about the Wii U and its legacy. And I mean, if you know me, or if you were following my channel this far back, you know that I was a Wii U fan, because like I already said, I spent so much of my time covering and discussing it, because honestly, you guys, especially in that first year before like the PS4 and the Xbox One came out, it was so exciting. I still have this here. It was so exciting to play this thing. I still play my Wii U to this day. This controller, there were plenty of missed opportunities, but there were plenty of games that did phenomenal things with this gamepad. The stylus wasn't used very often, but the touchpad and the advantage of a second screen for a real-time inventory and a real-time map that I still think gaming is missing nowadays. I think we lost the advantage of this by moving away from it. It was incredible, man. So many great games. I mean, that first year alone had Pikmin 3, Zombie U, Wonderful 101, 3 games that jump out immediately. I believe also Rayman Legends. 4 games that jump out immediately in the first year alone that made incredibly good use of the gamepad. I also think the first Deus Ex game that came out on the Wii U's, I think it was Mankind Divided. Or Human Revolution. One of those. Also, again, that first year had several games that made wonderful use of this gamepad, and I just loved it, and I still love it, and I miss dual screen gaming to this day. Nintendo didn't execute perfectly on this idea, but when it did execute, it was awesome, and it made gaming so much better and immersive and fun for me. And so, yeah, I had a great time in that first year. It's worth talking about the Miiverse, which was a really cool thing that the Wii U brought along with it. And it was really Nintendo's own proprietary social media platform that was meant to do a lot more things than it ultimately did do, and meant to do more things than Nintendo really delivered on. But the idea of having a social media experience where you could type things or draw things on the gamepad, share in communities related to the specific game you are playing at that time to other people, share screenshots and videos and tricks and all these things, and just even jokes or whatever. Splatoon kind of made good advantage by including that stuff within the game itself. It was very cool, man, and the idea of turning on the Wii U and being introduced to what they called Waru Waru Plaza, where all of the Mii characters come and just run into the screen and they're like, hey, we're playing these games and whatever. It was a very cool idea. And while it wasn't utilized to perfection, it still overall, I think, achieved what it was trying to do. And I definitely miss the days when the Miiverse, just say it out loud. When's the last time you said Miiverse? Remember when that was a huge part of our daily Nintendo experience, was just seeing the Miiverse and hearing those chirps and people talking about stuff and even interacting with it yourself? It was a great, fun time. It wasn't the most revolutionary thing, but it just reminds me of a very fun time in gaming and a fun time in Nintendo's history where they really tried some fun, goofy things to put that side of Nintendo's gaming output, you know, front and center into what they were actually putting out into the world with the Wii U. And I thought it was really cool. Now, some of the reveal trailers tried to impress upon us the idea of using video chats, using the camera on the gamepad to talk with people or to talk about games or have video conference calls with your parents in a different state or a different country or whatever. And I don't even know if that ever even existed. And if it did, I don't know anyone who used it. But it was a very cool concept. And that's why this freaking controller is so neat to me, man. It's got a screen. It's got a touch screen. It's got a stylus. It's got gyro. And it has a camera on it. It's such a cool concept. Now, obviously, we can't go without talking about the games, because one of the reasons I think the Wii U is so fantastic and underappreciated is the insane game library. There are so many fantastic first-party and exclusive games on the Wii U that it's just obscene. It's crazy. Now, there's not a whole lot of extra shovelware games, and so the overall library to the Wii U is small, and I think that's why some people, without diving deep, think that it was not a good system with not a very robust library, but that's actually not true. With the exception of a couple of duds, like the Mario Tennis, I think, Ultra Smash game, and like the Animal Crossing Amiibo Festival, every other exclusive and first-party game that Nintendo made for this was an absolute smash hit, awesome game. You can't deny it. And that even includes a couple of third-party hits like Bayonetta 2. That was an exclusive game. That began the exclusive Nintendo relationship with the Bayonetta franchise. It was on the Wii U with Nintendo and Platinum and Bayonetta 2. And then you've got almost every other franchise that Nintendo owns was touched on the Wii U. We also got the biggest Mario Kart game ever made with Mario Kart 8. We also got a fantastic and huge new franchise with Splatoon. And we got so many other incredible things. Super Mario 3D World, Pikmin 3. I mean, there's a massive list. Captain Toad's Treasure Tracker. In fact, the library is so strong and fantastic that most of these games have been ported to the Nintendo Switch. And why have they been ported to the Nintendo Switch? Because they're great games. And people wanted these games. They wanted to play these games. And because people didn't buy the Wii U to great numbers, because Nintendo made huge mistakes with the marketing, unfortunately, a lot of people miss these games. But Nintendo and the community knows how fantastic they are, and so many of them have been brought over to the Switch. That alone is a testament to the quality of the Wii U. Sure, maybe it doesn't feel as necessary to play the Wii U in 2022 because most of these games have been ported, but I'm talking about going back to the years of 2012 to 2017, when the Wii U was Nintendo's only console on the market. These games were only able to be played if you had a Wii U. That shows that in their relevant time, 2012 to 17, that means the library was that strong. So strong, they got ported to their next generation Switch. And so I will always stand by my love and support of the Wii U by saying, look at how spectacular the games library is. That, to me, is all a video game platform is going to live and die on. It's the games themselves, and the Wii U had it. The marketing sucked. We know it sucked, and that's why people didn't see the value of the Wii U. Nintendo made that mistake. But what they didn't make a mistake on was the quality of the machine, the quality of the controller, and the incredible, diverse, exclusive library available on this console. Now, if I have to talk about a negative when it comes to the gaming side of the Wii U, I do have to address the elephant in the room. And it's that for all of the incredible games and first-party IPs and franchises that did appear to great success on the Wii U, you know the one that didn't come on the Wii U? It's Metroid. It's my favorite franchise, my series, my character in Samus. No Metroid on the Wii U. Now, today we know that Metroid Prime 4 is a game being worked on for the Switch, or my theory is now that it's actually going to be the next generation machine, not the Switch. We've also had Metroid Dread release on the Switch. So I like to think that Metroid Prime 4, not Dread, but I think Metroid Prime 4, or the next big console Metroid game, was probably being worked on or planned for the Wii U. But I bet about halfway through the Wii U's life, Nintendo saw the writing on the wall. We've got to move on from this thing. There are going to be some casualties. One of them, this is just me theorizing here. I think one of those casualties was Metroid. And so yeah, as a diehard Metroid fan, it does hurt me to say that one of my favorite Nintendo consoles of all time, the unsuccessful Wii U, didn't feature a Metroid game. And it hurts even more when, as I just said, there was a litany of other fantastic Nintendo games and franchises featured on the Wii U. Why my one favorite franchise is the one that got left off? Who knows? Maybe it was the fallout from Metroid Other M being pretty divisive several years prior. We know that Federation Force on the 3DS also kind of hurt the franchise in a similar way, even though I think Other M is a really great game. We know that it was divisive, and Federation Force, that's just its own weird story for a different video. So maybe those are the things that led to that happening, and also the fact that the Wii U just wasn't going to last very long. And so I like to think that Metroid Prime 4, they probably didn't start working on the game during the Wii U years, but I bet it was initially going to be a Wii U game before they said, no, let's push that off to the next thing. This Wii U thing ain't gonna last. That's my personal conspiracy theory. And so it's worth noting as we start to close this up that The Legend of Zelda Breath of the Wild really was and became the perfect swan song for the Wii U. Nintendo spent multiple years during the Wii U era building and pumping up the next Zelda game, calling it Zelda U or Zelda Wii U for a very long time. It was first revealed at E3 2014 as a Wii U game. It blew our minds. We were so excited. They featured some gameplay off screen at the Game Awards with Miyamoto and Eiji Aonuma, and it was so exciting, and it got delayed and delayed and delayed before it was featured at E3 2016 very prominently, and then later that year confirmed to be also releasing on the Wii U as the swan song title for the console, but also it was going to launch the newly announced Nintendo Switch, and the rest is history. We know what happened there. The game was amazing. It's essentially considered a Switch game, and it's also one of the best games ever created, a perfect launch for the successor console to the failed Wii U. But it is worth noting that this amazing legendary game, Breath of the Wild, it's a Wii U game too. It launched on March 3rd on both platforms. You can play the exact same legendary Breath of the Wild on the Wii U. And yeah, Ubisoft kept making like whatever the dance, I can't even remember now. What are their Ubisoft dance games? Just Dance or Let's Dance? They kept making those games on the Wii and the Wii U for years. But the last real significant game and the last Nintendo franchise game to release on the Wii U, one of the best games ever made, Breath of the Wild. I think it's pretty cool that they got to bookend this amazing console with one of the finest gaming achievements ever made. I'll always have fond memories of that 2016 time before the Nintendo Switch was officially announced, because most of that year, going back to I think March of 2015, Nintendo was talking about the NX, man. They revealed that Nintendo NX in March of 2015. And that really dominated the conversation, especially for myself as a YouTuber, a Nintendo YouTuber, and most other Nintendo channels, and plenty of my friends who I was podcasting and making videos with at the time. We were all so focused on these rumors and theories and speculations about the Nintendo NX and what that was going to be. And I have extremely fond memories of that. Even though it wasn't about the Wii U, I remember the Nintendo NX mystery period as part of the Wii U era. And obviously, again, October 2016, the Nintendo NX became the Nintendo Switch. We got the Breath of the Wild thing and all of the stuff I just was explaining. But I'll always remember that as part of my bookend experience of the Wii U era as well. Not only just loving the console from reveal to playing it and then moving into the Switch era, but it was that fun time when we got to play the Wii U and enjoy those games, but wonder what this NX mystery machine was going to be. To me, it's all kind of part of the same memory palace in my brain, right, as Wii U, NX sort of mystery thing. But I think revealing the Nintendo NX was Nintendo's way at the time of letting everyone know that, hey, this thing, the Wii U, it was fun while it lasted, but it's not going to last much longer. We're already thinking ahead. Don't give up on us yet. The way things played out with the Wii U, I think Nintendo needed to let everyone know, don't give up on us yet. We have to move on, and we're already doing it. We're talking about this NX thing. I think that there's a case to be made that talking about the NX when they did in March of 2015 may have even sped up the decline in sales and success of the Wii U. It obviously was already not going very well anyway, but I think there is a case to be made that it maybe furthered the decline of the Wii U's success just because Nintendo was already planting the seeds of doubt in everyone's mind that this Wii U thing ain't going to last much longer anyway because we're thinking about the next thing. We've already got a code name for it. It's going to come soon. And from the Nintendo NX's reveal in March of 2015 to the release of the Switch in March of 2017, that's only 2 years. So they really wanted to let us know this Wii U thing ain't going to last. Let's start looking ahead. So anyway, this was a fun thing to revisit for me. is the Nintendo Wii U on its 10-year anniversary. Like I said, not only is it a console that I loved and played incessantly in its day, I still play it today. It's still hooked up right alongside my Nintendo Switch, my PlayStation 5, and my Xbox Series X. I also have my Wii U hooked up to that same TV, and at least a few times a month, I turn it on to play either some Wii U games or some Wii games, because it also plays Wii games. It's a great console. I'll always love and defend it to death. I think it deserved much more love and success than it actually saw. But it's a great part of my gaming history, and it's a great part of Nintendo's history, and so that's why I love the Wii U.